Hi, everyone. This time we are talking about a fairly intriguing topic. And how this happened was a series of unconnected meetings or experiences that I had. I met a bunch of startups, a couple of startups actually, which were doing some amazing work, I thought, in what is called natural spoken language programming, where you don't require stuff like Python or C or Ruby or any of the other languages, and you could use the spoken word to program. The other was these announcements by some of the big techs, Microsoft, Google, etc., on how there was this recursive loop on which AI generated large language models could actually program AI. And then the third, which really was the big inspiration, was this brilliant article by Sanjana Ramachandran in 52 magazine. You must check out 52. It's an amazing magazine on how and if Sanskrit, our ancient language, was probably the best language to program computers and AI. Now, this is something which we have heard, or I have heard for a while, that, given how Sanskrit is structured and ordered, possibly more than any other spoken language or natural language, it's the best one to code, whether it be computers or AI. And there is a lot of conversation around it. Sanskrit is the most scientific language. It's the best to do this programming. It's the language for future supercomputers, etc. But one thing which keeps on coming out in these conversations is that even NASA claimed that it is so. And Sanjana Ramachandran actually traced that article, which was a 1985 paper by a NASA researcher called Rick Briggs, which was titled Knowledge Representation in Sanskrit and Artificial Intelligence, which gave rise to all this NASA thing happening. And Briggs wrote that, understandably, there's a widespread belief that natural languages are unsuitable for the transmission of many ideas that artificial languages can render with great precision and mathematical rigor. But this dichotomy, which has served as a premise underlying such work in the areas of linguistics and artificial intelligence, is a false one. There's at least one language, Sanskrit, which for the duration of almost 1,000 years was a living spoken language with a considerable literature on its own. And then he kind of talks about how, knowledge representation schemes, etc., which are a big part of AI, can actually be addressed best with Sanskrit. Now, Sanskrit follows the grammar of the legendary grammarian Panini, and his Ashtadhyayi of around 500 BC has 3,976 rules which govern spoken languages. And actually, they say that every Sanskrit word originates from about 2,000 base verbal roots, which are called dhatus, which are actually distinct linguistic units with their own phonemes and morphemes. And that Ashtadhyayi functions actually, therefore, as an algorithm. In 52, a Stanford professor actually describes how in Sanskrit, every sentence is seen as a little drama played out by an agent, the doer, and a set of other actors, which may include a recipient, goal, instrument, location, source. And so every sentence can be represented in these 6 basic categories and by the relationships between them. And something which computers or AI would find it very easy to understand. And even within AI, before deep learning came on, there was this symbolic AI, or sometimes called GoFi, which is good old-fashioned AI. And GoFi was much more a rules-based, top-down kind of a AI, and which would work very well with these knowledge representation systems, and therefore the suitability of Sanskrit. There's another way to think about it, and Pawan Goyal, an IIT professor, has this particular take. He thinks that Sanskrit can function as a bridge language. So any natural spoken language can first be mapped into Sanskrit, and then Sanskrit can be used to program AI/ML because of this whole formal language and grammar of Sanskrit. Actually, this bridge language concept is what the big tech guys have caught on, not with Sanskrit in mind, but with large language models being this bridge. And so, for example, Microsoft and OpenAI, have brought out this amazing large language model or a natural language called GPT-3, which I'm sure you would have heard of. And the whole deal is that you can have GPT-3 program AI. And so Satya Nadella says that if you can describe what you want to do in natural language, GPT-3 will take that, understand that, and generate a list of the most relevant formulas for you to choose from. And so, as he says, the code writes itself. Now, Microsoft is uniquely positioned to do that, with OpenAI being an investee company. They invested $1 billion, and OpenAI created GPT-3 and soon GPT-4. It also owns GitHub, which is the largest open source repository in the world. And well, Satya is Indian, and maybe he has this Sanskrit thing at the back of his mind. And IBM is also doing something around this. And so there's a lot of interest as to how perhaps Sanskrit can function as one of the most relevant natural languages to code. I often talk about the fact that coding is the new English. You need to learn coding to succeed in this world, like we used to learn English to succeed in the world. But can English be the new coding? Or can English be the new code? Or would the honor perhaps go to Sanskrit? So as I told you, this one is a little different. I hope it intrigued you, you liked it, and I encourage you to go read Sanjana Ramachandran's article in 52. But I would also love to hear more about what you think, and look forward to talk to you again.